James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham's there. I'm Kyle Madsen. Joe Brazil on the ones and twos. We're hanging out with you until noon. Then D'Lo and KC will take over. All right, we got some NBA playoff stuff to get to, but I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the Sacramento Kings in the midst of the NBA playoff chaos. Some coaching news happened over the weekend. No official hirings yet, though. So, James, can you fill us in on what the Kings coaching staff, what the heck's going on? Doug Christie has been hired, and then?
Yeah, it really does look like once Doug Christie was hired, he's cleared out almost the entire coaching staff. And I mean, like, look, this is to be expected. I know some people are out there like, hey, why can't you hold on to this guy or that guy? Oh, we love that guy. And it's like, you know what? Like, Doug Christie should be able to hire his own staff. We've been saying this from the beginning.
Yep.
And when you hire your own staff, that means that some of the people that were there before can no longer be there, right? You can't just have like a 42-man coaching staff, and part of it is Mike Brown's staff, and part of it's your staff. So from what I know as of right now, Leandro Barbosa is back, right? Depeche Mystery and Stefan Ingo are back as well, according to Trishy Rodriguez, NBC Sports Bay Area. So we have at least those guys. Depeche is, like, everyone knows him by Dip at the arena, but up and coming coach, another Canadian, but a good dude, and so he's worked his way on the Doug Christie staff. Jay Triano, it appears, is gone. Jawad Williams is gone. Ricky Foyce is gone. Jim Moran left to join Luke Lauk's staff at Florida State. I don't have any word yet on Jimmy Alapag, but you know, I'm hoping that somehow he's back. Just a really, really good dude. I haven't seen whether I see John Poles mentioned in the chat that Robbie Lemons. I have no idea whether Robbie Lemons is back or not. Like, it's a big staff, and we're kind of getting to a point where we're not sure who's in and who's out. I do know I heard as of Friday that Triano and Ricky Foyce were out. And again, Slater, I think, put out on Saturday that Jawad Williams was out. And, you know, eventually we're going to get this whole thing settled and figure out, you know, who is left standing. You do need some coaches at this time of year.
Yeah.
No, you do. I mean, there is a reason why you have coaches today, which is kind of weird. Number one, you send coaches out to work with players. But number two, the Sacramento Kings are doing something. They've brought something back, which is, like, again, I could go on a tirade about this forever, but
we got an hour and a half.
One of the most annoying things about the Monty and Wes era is they made this ridiculous decision to cut media out of the draft process. And so, like, there was a time, like the Kyle Guy draft, what year is that? 2018, 2019. There was a time where we had 98 prospects roll through Sacramento, and they do them in groups of 6. They usually have, like, they try to match up guys. So if you're going to have a big center in, you want to bring in another big center. You also want to bring that guy in with a point guard, and you want to bring in a couple of small forwards that are the same size, right? So you just keep cycling through players. And the reason why I bring up Kyle Guy is because Kyle Guy came through 3 times. He was even really late in the draft process. The Kings had somebody fall out of a workout, and Kyle Guy happened to be near an airport that wasn't that far away. They flew him back in to have him compete, just so they had the right number of people. So you need coaches on the floor to actually do this, right? But Monty and West, for whatever reason, they decided they no longer wanted media to see who they were bringing in. And so we would on occasion get like, hey, this guy stopped by the arena for a workout. It used to be like, well, first of all, I mean, just for people who are wondering why it would annoy me, like, this is free advertising for the team. It's just free advertising during the offseason. It gets your name out there. It gets your name out there all over the place. Not only that, but local television cameras show up. and they get a little bit of peek of like who the prospects are. We interview the prospects, 2 or 3 of them every single day. And it's just like a regular practice, except for it's new kids that may or may not ever make it in the league.
Sure.
So, but it gets your product out there in front of people all the time during a time where you're irrelevant. I mean, the Kings are irrelevant because Buddy Hield just tore up, the Houston Rockets, and the Golden State Warriors are going on to the next round. The Kings aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, this is like, it's getting back to the basics, and God bless Scott Perry for getting back to the basics, because I can't imagine not wanting to have your product out there as many times as possible. And we're talking like 4 years of no media coverage of the pre-draft process. And when you're a bad team, that just doesn't make any sense.
I don't understand it at all, especially when and I know the NFL draft and the NBA draft are a little bit different. The NFL draft is A, it's 7 rounds, and B, it feels a lot more involved just because there's such a long distance between the Super Bowl ending and the draft, right? And for most people, it's not even the Super Bowl. It's their team stinks and they know they're done in November, so they start diving into the draft then, right? But visits from prospects are like a huge thing that people love to dig into. I don't know why you wouldn't want to push that as much as humanly possible. Like, I get why you're not going to have, hey, we're going to sell tickets to this pre-draft workout. Come here. Like, you're not going to do all that. But why would you not be reporting every visit? And check that. I get why strategically you wouldn't want to report some. But if you're having a batch of draft picks come in and you're like, yeah, hey, let's get this out there, that for there's no reason we're hiding this. Right? Get it out, like, let everybody know. Let media talk to people. I don't get it.
They've been hiding them for the last 4 years. Like, what are you doing? And I guess there is a certain amount of like frustration when you go back and you look at Damian Lillard wearing a Kings workout jersey, right? Klay Thompson being interviewed in a Kings workout jersey. So now there are all these reminders of the people that you missed.
Sure.
But like, come on now. That's just the draft process. Like, every
team has those.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, this is really cool. Again, it's no one that, I mean, I don't know if the Kings are going to get a single first round prospect in, but it's good to see that they actually have guys coming through.
And I'm not even going to get to the names because frankly, I've done nothing on any of these players.
There's some great names in here.
But there are some phenomenal names. But here's the thing that jumps out to me on the list of 6 players we have here. 6'5", 6'5", 6'5", 6'6", 6'10", 6'11".
What are you trying to say, Kyle?
That's great news.
I want to go out there and see Wooga Poplar. There's a player from Villanova, a 6'5" shooting guard, 194 pounds, named Wooga.
It's a great name.
That is a great name. I mean, like, some of that, like this is, the draft process is like super cool.
It's fun.
And players should be celebrated. And if I'm an agent and I know that the Kings have stopped doing media coverage of player interviews and stuff, I'm skipping them. Like, your kids are exhausted anyways, right? And the Kings don't have a first round pick, but they do have an early second round pick. If you don't want to put my kid's name out there and have them some buzz about what he may or may not have done in a prospect workout, then I don't think I want to stop there anymore. And so you get in this process where, agents who, like, there are tiers of agents. I don't know if people understand this. There are like your top tier guys that have all the stars, right? The Jeff Schwartz of the world, who always has a top, like, 2 or 3 top 3 picks. The one of my De'Aaron Fox's agent, Rich Paul. So Rich Paul has a bunch of like superstars, but then there's this whole other this class of agents that are coming up, like young agents, or they're like the old school grinder agents who have like only European prospects, or they're the agents that only have guys that are going to be in the second round. Some young guys who just are cutting their teeth as agents. Well, those guys, like, they get burned by you once or twice. They're like, how come you won't announce that my player came through your building? That doesn't make any sense because that's part of this, right? It's
Yeah.
getting your player's name out there. And so I love it. So hat tip to Scott Perry, because this is step one of fixing like many, many egregious issues. And hey, it's 10:30. The player workouts are ending right now, and there's media availability right now to go talk to some of these guys.
Hey, Wooga Poplar can kind of hoop.
Can he?
I saw a local guy in the chat saying go watch his Miami tape, but I'm just looking at stats. I'm box score watching right now. 84% from the free throw line in 4 years. He played 136 games. 37% from three, 45% from the field. Last year averaged 15 and 7, an assist and a half on 38.7% at Villanova. Yeah.
Yeah.
His listed 6'5", $197.
Yeah. Tamar Bates. Like, okay.
We just big Wooga guys now?
Yeah, yeah. I think we should start the Wooga Poplar movement.
So, off box score stats. Yeah.
I
haven't watched it for a second.
No, it's not a popular movement. It's a Poplar movement.
Nice, dude.
It's a Wooga Poplar movement.
That's really well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, but here's just to continue what we're talking about. And then I want to go back to the coaching staff thing for a second. But what's going to happen now? And this just goes to your point about, agents and wanting players to come through and what makes this fun. We now have 6 names that we can go dig into and watch and learn about.
Yeah.
That we can now talk about. Like that's way more fun than, they had workout. Who was in? Maybe this guy. Oh, okay. Thanks. Like that's just don't like it.
Well, I think part of the cool process too is as journalists, as people who are there like covering the team, you have to understand we're covering the team for you, the fan, right? So we're trying to introduce you to like whoever we can that could potentially go with the 36th pick in the draft, whatever, 38th pick in the draft. I don't know what they have, something like that. But it's a good thing for you to get information, because then you start looking at these guys too. You're like, oh, okay. It's one thing to like Taco Fall walks in the building and you're like, holy cow, that is the biggest human being I've ever seen in my entire life.
Absurd.
Like, right. But then there's all of these other players that step up and like have moments. There's, like Donovan Mitchell coming through Sacramento and literally trying to convince Sacramento media that he can be a point guard in the NBA. Not that he's a scoring guard. He knows he plays great defense, but I swear I can be an NBA point guard. And so I'm going to do my best to show everybody that I can be an NBA point guard. And the reason he's saying that is because he's 6'2", right? And 6'2", 6'3", and everybody's like, oh, he's undersized shooting guard. Well, it ends up that he's just a great basketball player, right? But the part of the draft process is saying like, hey, what do you know about the Sacramento Kings? And all of a sudden he starts riffing about all of the people that he knows in Sacramento, all of the players that he grew up playing AAU against, how many times he's played against a guy like De'Aaron Fox who's going to go earlier in the draft that year. But like, this is part of like a process that is good storytelling. And it's part of the reason why you need to open your doors. So that way we actually get to, be there, touch, feel, watch, and be part of the process.
Sure. I want to go back to the coaching staff stuff real quick. It sounds like Mike Woodson is on track to be Doug Christie's lead assistant. Do you get the idea that that's a Doug Christie call, or is that a front office call?
I think that Doug is going to have, he's going to have questions for, like, hey, I need to build a staff. Does anybody have anybody that they're connected with that they would really like? And, maybe Doug has a relationship with Mike Woodson. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know if they've ever crossed paths in the whole process. But like, I heard this, we started talking about this last week here on the Insiders, that Mike Woodson was the name that we kept hearing. Right. And, like, look, this is a seasoned former NBA head coach. And that's what, like, whatever the Kings need, whatever Doug Christie needs for support, he needs one or two of these guys. And if Jay Triano wasn't coming back, which we now know is the case, you need a guy like Mike Woodson. You need more guys like this who have been through the rigors of, multiple 82 game seasons And like, this is a guy who spent, I don't know, he's 315 and 365 as an NBA head coach, but he's also been, an assistant coach for decades as well. And so this is a strong start to what could be a really good staff. And, we don't have it confirmed yet that he's actually going to be hired, but it sure does look like they're heading that way. And we've been hearing that for, again, like over a week. I've been hearing Mike Woodson's name mentioned multiple times.
Mike Woodson started with the Atlanta Hawks in 04-05. They went 13-69. Here are their wins after that 13 win season: 26, 30, 37, 47, 53. And then he was left to go by the Hawks after that 53-29 season. Like, that's pretty impressive what he did with that team. And that was, I mean, what, 15 years ago now? But still, like, this is a guy who's overseen the development of a program. He went 54-28 with the Knicks in 2012-13. Like you said, that's the kind of guy you want on this coaching staff. Now, the key there is ensuring that he's here to help the Kings win. And if he wants to be an NBA head coach again, be the head coach elsewhere and get hired off of this staff to be the head coach elsewhere. This isn't one of those things where, oh, Scott Perry knows him and he thinks that this is his path to being a head coach is with the Kings. And so that's why he's joining this staff.
Yeah.
Like, if there's an inkling of that would be my, I guess, if I'm trying to poke holes and find concerns, that would be the one for me.
Yeah, I would say this. He did work with Scott Perry during the 2020-21 season with the Knicks. Oh, yeah. He was an assistant, but that was a long time ago. We're talking 4 or 5 seasons ago. And Mike Woodson, at this point, he's 67 years old. I don't think he's pining for another head coaching job. He just got done with Indiana. The Indiana, like Hoosiers, it didn't go all that well. But that doesn't mean that he can't be a very, very good assistant coach. We're talking about a guy who was on, the Clippers staffs from 2014 till 2018. And, he's worked with some of the best guys that you're going to find. He worked under Doc Rivers as, one of his lead assistants for that entire time. This is a very, very high level assistant coach. And it would be very good to see him back in the league working on a staff where he's a support piece. Even if he's like an associate head coach, I can see that. And then Doug lining up like offensive and defensive coordinators. And whether they have ties to Mike Woodson or not, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But Doug will, piece together his own staff that he feels comfortable with. And this isn't about, I don't think Jay Triano, Jawad Williams, Ricky Foyce, those Jim Moran, they didn't do anything wrong, but they weren't on. That was Mike's staff, and you want to create something yourself, and it's tough, but that's his business. It is.
Yeah, if you have a different vision for how things are going to go, you need to bring in guys who are aligned with that vision. I don't think that's not to say everybody needs to be a yes man, but if Jay Triano viewed offense in X, Y, and Z, and Doug viewed it in A, B, and C, like, that's just that's not going to work out. So you're right. I don't think they did anything necessarily wrong. In fact, I would commend Doug and the Kings for moving on from like, Jay Triano is going to go have a job somewhere. Jay Triano is a good coach, but